Hi, thanks for joining us. We're really excited to be able to share our vision for Medboda, which is tackling non-communicable diseases in Kenya. Now, we started with NCDs, issues like diabetes, cancer, etc., for three main reasons. The first is the substantial health burden. The second is that it's a growing problem. And the third is that it's largely preventable and treatable, and particularly through business models around provision of pharmaceuticals. So, thinking about pharmaceuticals, what are the key challenges in Kenya? The first is around affordability, with the average price of drugs at over 30 times the international median price. And the second is around availability, with the average drug available only 43% of the time. So what's driving these key challenges? From a price perspective, there's a heavily intermediated supply chain, and every layer now adds additional costs to the end user. On availability, an inefficient supply chain and fragmented markets mean that the timing of supply doesn't meet the timing of demand, which leads to a lack of availability. So, thinking about the solution, if we could buy higher up the chain and retail directly to the end user, we can now cut out a lot of the costs associated with that intermediation. On availability, an efficient and aggregated supply driven by data, as well as the ability to deliver directly to the customer, would fix a large part of the availability challenge. And this is exactly what we're proposing to do. And so how does this work? Well, customers will place orders through a mobile app or platform. Our drivers will head to a centralized warehouse, pick up the supply, and then deliver directly to the customer. Customers pay using mobile money upon delivery, and a team of pharmacists follow up via call to make sure there are no outstanding issues. From a customer acquisition perspective, we're going to be using social media marketing, doctors' referrals, as well as patient networks and associations. Now, we've done a lot of research on the first two, but haven't tested them. The third is a tried and tested way of us acquiring customers. We've also spent some time thinking about unit economics. And so starting from the retail price of the drug, less logistics, less customer care, and the drug itself, that still leaves us with a pretty healthy margin. Now, everyone that we've spoken to in this space has said the data we'd get from retailing directly to customers is hugely valuable, but no one can give us a figure for just how valuable. And so we're thinking about that, but we're not factoring it into any of our calculations. We've also done some analysis on the average cost to acquire a customer and the lifetime value of that customer. And that ratio is standing at $3.3, which gives us really healthy incentives to scale quickly. Now, zooming out a little bit and thinking of the market, we can see that there's a demonstrated market already, and it's very quickly growing. So in Kenya, there's currently $4 billion spent on healthcare, 800 of which is in pharmaceuticals, 130 million of which is in NCDs, and 90 million is coming from private payers already. Lots of tailwinds here, but three key ones are a growing economy, growing healthcare needs and infrastructure, as well as a general population dividend. So all in, that's yielded a 7% year-on-year growth in pharmaceuticals over the last 3 years. Thinking about impact and systems change, on impact, there's two buckets that are exciting to us. The first is a per transaction basis, where we see for each transaction, we can increase disposable income, as well as accelerate recovery or improve health of our customers. Outside of that per transaction basis, our business model needs lots of manual inputs. And so there's a job creation thesis there as well. We've done some modeling to show what kinds of outcomes we're targeting. And so by the end of year 2, we're looking at $250,000 saved to our customers, as well as over $500,000 paid out in wages. That middle one is disability adjusted life years. And so what we're saying here is we're adding back into the system 1,400 healthy life years that would have otherwise been lost. From a systems change perspective, there's two things that really excite us. The first is that all insurers have said to us the biggest barrier to accelerating coverage of insurance is the cost of pharmaceuticals. And so if we can bring down that cost, we're now accelerating insurance coverage. The second is around the data and what that unlocks in terms of possibilities. And there's two things here that we're excited about. The first is risk pooling, where we can bring down the average price per user, and that enables us to reach the bottom of the pyramid and bring them up into our offering. The second is around preventative healthcare, where we leverage the fact that NCDs have extremely high comorbidity. So if we're treating a patient for diabetes, we can now begin to think about preventing things like hypertension, etc. When we think about financial projections, the first 12 months, lots of negative cash flows as we invest in setup and iterate the model. And once we get that right, you can see over the next 12 months, the path to scale is a sort of copy-paste model. In terms of key metrics, by the end of year 2, we've got customers at 50,000 and a very healthy EBITDA and gross margin position as well. In terms of the competitive landscape, of all the criteria on the left, we think affordability and availability are the key ones, particularly in a post-COVID world. Affordability because incomes will be crunched, and availability because COVID has caused lots of disruption. So given that our proposition does particularly well on those two dimensions, we think we are very favorably placed to compete with the incumbents already. In terms of our journey, we've just completed a pilot where we've supplied medication to a group of 50,000 diabetes patients, generated a healthy pipeline of orders, and demonstrated savings per prescription. We're now looking to raise capital to invest in some of the additional setup costs and begin to acquire a larger group of customers. That moves us nicely into the growth phase we talked about, where we expand the product portfolio, really hit a high end in terms of scale, and start to build out some of those deeper impact propositions in terms of our product. Finally, we're really thinking hard about tilting the system, building out those partnerships, and as we said, reaching the bottom of the pyramid and moving to a more preventative provision in terms of health. The team that we've built out has the functional expertise that we think is necessary to execute on that plan. So we've got expertise ranging from impact and investment, medicine, business development, as well as pharmaceutical operations. Our advisory team come from big pharma access programs, government, and logistics. So appreciate that was a lot of information. What's this all about in a nutshell? Well, in doing our research, we came across Mary, and Mary's sister was suffering from an NCD and she couldn't afford the relevant medication. And so Mary kind of said, how can I lose my sister because of the cost of a drug? And quite frankly, we agree. And that's why we will enable people to easily access affordable NCD medication by leveraging technology and existing infrastructure to disrupt the current market. Because medication should not be a barrier to good health. Thank you.